Hello everyone, I'm just getting ready for the show, so jump on in, say hi in the comments. Okay. Hello everyone. We have a few more minutes. I will be right back. I'm just going to reach over. Hello, Patty. Hello, Cyrus. Hello, a few glimpses. Hi. Forgive me if I don't remember your names right off the top of my head. I apologize. It's great to see you. 2 minutes to starting. I have a nice demo, and if you have questions, I need questions this week, so throw them in the chat. Any questions, well, baking related, would be great. It's summer, so not everybody's baking as much as in the cooler weather months, but I'm so happy to see you guys. Let me wave at who's here. Lean over. I look so silly, but that's okay. Oh, Patty, you've been busy. Irish soda bread, green tea scones. Awesome. Hi, Chef Eva. So nice to see you. Well, I can't really see you, but I know you're there. Thank you for joining. Awesome. One more minute. When Mickey says 12 o'clock, we're going to go. I'll keep waving as long as I can. Hi, you guys. So nice to see you. My bakers, our baking community, right here on Instagram. Well, it's a beautiful day in Los Angeles, and I hope it's beautiful wherever you are. And it's always a beautiful day to bake. So it's 12 noon Pacific, and let's jump right in. And our first question, well, as I said, questions have been a little light, so throw those questions in the comments. Oh, that beep was telling me that the oven is preheating. Sorry for that slightly obnoxious beeping noise, but that's what that was, full disclosure. Anyway, questions, throw them in, we'll get to them. But for today, what framed today's demo was a question from one of our bakers, Patty. And Patty, she messaged me early in the week, and it was such a provocative question that I thought, baking provocative, I thought, you know what? I'm going to craft 2 demos around Patty's question. Okay, so are you in suspense enough? Like, what could she have asked? She asked about her galettes, which are freeform tarts. They're also called, well, in French, they're called galettes. In Italy, they refer to them as crostata. And we might call them here in the States freeform tarts. And they are wonderful for summer baking. They showcase summer fruits beautifully, but if we're not careful, they can leak out like crazy. So Patty wanted to control the leakage, and she said, because she felt like her galettes looked dirty with the juices baking all over the crust, because it's really challenging to control the water content of beautiful fresh summer fruit. Now today we're going to tackle the galette. And next week we're going to piggyback, just to give you a little teaser, we're going to piggyback and I'm going to talk about how to control your fresh summer fruit pie fillings. So that's for next week. For right now, the galette. I thought this might be also a great opportunity to review at the half-year mark how to put together. Galettes are just simple pie dough. That's really all they are. Sometimes they might have they usually have a little bit of sugar in them, unless you're making a savory galette. But usually, it's just like Thanksgiving, except it's summer, and we're going to keep it simple. So, put it in the comments. If you've been baking summer fruit pies, or you're thinking about baking summer fruit pies. Now, this recipe will be on the website, and I will post it on Instagram on Monday. So please, it makes the perfect amount of galette dough. So like last week with the chocolate pudding, I'll have that recipe everywhere. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to grab my mise en place tray, and I'm going to tell you amounts, but don't worry, I will post the recipe. So I've got 250 grams of all-purpose flour. I have 29 grams of sugar, 1 gram of salt. Okay? And I'm going to sift this. This is my favorite sifter. Forgot who makes it. But if you have one like this, I know you love it. All right. Now, okay, full disclosure. Sometimes salt doesn't go through the sifter all the way, so you just do that. Just let it plop it in. It will be okay. Basically, we just wanted to mix those ingredients together. If you weren't feeling the sifter, you could grab a whisk and whisk them. All right, so now I have my butter, which is 6 ounces, 170 grams of unsalted butter. Oh, and I do have a story, but after demo, there are butter miracles out there, bakers. You just need to pay attention. So before we go, it happened to me twice this week, and it's very good news. All right, so if you look at my butter, it is cubed up in pretty little cubes. They are not perfect, but they're small cubes. And then, so I cut it up, and then I chilled it. And I just pulled it out of the refrigerator right before I hit the live button. So what we're going to do is we're going to just dot these over the surface of the dough like that. Now my favorite tool is a plastic bowl scraper. Not silicone, but a hard plastic bowl scraper. You might have one of these. It's called a Pastry Blender, and it cuts the fat into the butter. I'm going to demo with both of these, okay? Because a lot of people like these, and I don't know, you may have, sometimes you might put it in the comments if you have one of these and it's a family heirloom, let us know. Okay, curve side down, chop, 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 chop. And I might forget my amounts, but as I said, I'm going to have this recipe posted. The recipe is written. I just always have so much running around my head. So I'm kind of rotating the bowl as I'm chopping this fat into the flour. So what I like about the bowl scraper is there's no residue. So let's switch to this thing. Now this is really efficient and it cuts the fat up quickly, but what's kind of a pain is we got a lot of stuff stuck on the pastry blender. So all you have to do is grab your small offset spatula and scrape it. It's an extra step, but that's how we deal with it, okay? I want to be efficient, so I'm going back to this. You can also use your mixer fitted with the paddle attachment, turning it off and on, low speed, to cut in the butter. You can use your food processor. Oh my God, I remember the 80s when we made everything in the food processor, even bread. And it was great. But all the ingredients, when I work in the food processor, I chill my flour. Like, you have to be hardcore cold when you're working in the food processor, because the motor heats up everything in the work bowl. All right, that's it, folks. Can you see? I think you can. So the pieces of butter, they're about the size of cornflakes. All right. Now the other key to this is to have the water. So the next thing we're going to add is water. You're like, oh my God, this is Thanksgiving all over again, Thanksgiving pies. Yep. But the summer edition. So I have my water measured out, and it's about 117 grams. Again, I'm going to have the recipe posted for you guys by Monday on the website, bakingwithcolette.com. But I'm also going to add a little bit of acid. You can add apple cider vinegar, you could add regular vinegar, or you could add a little bit of lemon juice. You can use fresh lemon, but I always have one of these bad boys in my refrigerator because it's so useful. Now this little bit of acid is cutting the gluten. It's just a half teaspoon. I know I'm always, this I'm not going to measure, just a half teaspoon. I'm going to measure with my teaspoon. It's probably about a gram. I wanted to get super technical. And I'm just going to toss that in. So it tenderizes the gluten. The acid cuts the gluten strands so your dough stays tender. All right, there we go. And I'm just going to, I've got my ice cold water. And another reason I love this thing, so here's what happens with a lot of making of pie dough. You have to be aggressive. You see how I'm twirling the bowl and I am pushing the liquid into the flour and butter. I just actually had a little bit go flying, but that's okay. So what happens is we worry and we take too long. You also need this to scrape your bowl scraper. I tell you, there's nothing like an offset spatula handy to really make your baking life better. All right, now you might look at this and you might think, oh my God, there's a little bit of flour in the bottom. What do I do? Do I need to add more liquid? No, not with this formula. I have this one perfect for you. If you cut that butter in the size of cornflakes, you'll be fine. And you notice I don't get my hands in this dough too much, but I'm going to right now. I'm going to just push down quickly. I don't want to melt the butter. I'm going to push the dough. I pushed it into the bottom of the bowl. And that just allows it to grab those few particles of flour. And I'm also folding and folding and folding as I'm going. And now there's no more particles. I have a nice, kind of shaggy, but I'm going to fix that, lump of galette dough, crostata dough. So what we're going to do is, this is too thick to chill. So we want to get, when we're going to, now of course we're going to chill this dough. We're not going to roll it out right away. We want the fat to firm up, that's the butter, and we want the gluten that we've activated in that mix to relax. And the only thing that chills fat is time in the fridge, and the only thing that relaxes gluten is time. Okay? Sorry, my nose, I apologize. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to and for you croissant makers out there who like to fold your dough, and you know who you are, you can, because you could give this a quick fold. Just build in a little bit more flake. But you don't have to. It's a reflex for me. And you're going to have a little flour on standby. Just flour the top or flour the pin. And if you ever wondered, well, how thin should I roll my dough for chilling? The answer is a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. And that's about a 1/2 inch right there. You grab your plastic wrap or your beeswax if you're being super sustainable. I wish I was more sustainable. And we're going to wrap this. And you're going to chill it for a minimum of 2 hours. You could, if you're super organized and efficient, throw it in the refrigerator in the freezer for a month. Okay, so that's done. And I have one all set. I'm just going to clean my table. Okay, and then down below, under an ice blanket, I have a dough that's been resting for 2 hours. Now, since this show is all about questions, I'm just going to wipe my hands so I don't destroy my iPad, and I'm going to see if there's any questions before I go on to part 2. Let's see. I agree, living a life of irony, they are a pain to clean, but I just feel I need, you might love yours, and that's totally fine. Okay, let's see. No new questions? All right, let's just keep going. All right, everyone. So behind me, under me, I have a baking tray already set. And this is just, I have it lined with an old Silpat, but you could use parchment paper. You definitely want something under your galette. And now I'm gonna roll it out quick, and then I have the fruit prepared, and we're gonna talk about how to avoid what Patty wrote in about, which is too many juices. All right, but here's your pan prep or a piece of parchment paper. I just have so many of these left over from various cooking schools and pulling sugar and my life that I cut them up and used them. Use them, I do, for everything. All right, put it in the chat if you're a Silpat person. All right, now, what we're going to do, you have to have your pan ready because you need a landing zone. And this is what makes us successful with our baking. And that is just making sure that we've got things prepared. That mise en place, mise en place, mise en place. All right, little flour down. And I'm going to roll this out 1/8 of an inch thick into a circle. So just a quick demo. And I have to have my flour close by. Look at the big chunks of butter in there. It's going to be super flaky. And every time I'm just giving it a gentle tap, I give it a quarter turn. Now, it's still pretty round, which is great, but you might have the experience where it's looking like a square. And if it does that, then start working on the diagonal. Okay? Alrighty. Well, I've tapped this to about, I don't know, kind of a fat quarter-inch. And make sure you're not sticking on the bottom. Make sure you can move. Now I'm going to roll. Now the reason I tap, I'm a tapper. I like to tap and get it a little bit thinner because tapping the dough gently activates less gluten than this, which is rolling. And when your goal is a circle, you're going to be working on the diagonal. Now our goal is about 12-inch diameter, and you can flip it. It's sturdy. You're not going to hurt it. When I teach croissants, and maybe some of you have been in my croissant classes from back in the day, I throw that dough around, and students are always shocked. So you can turn it over. I mean, don't be rough, but you're in control. Now, if your inner perfectionist is kicking in, and that's okay, you can trim the rough edges. But galettes and crostatas, they're Italian, they're the same, so they're sisters. They're meant to be rustic. And the nice thing about this is that they give us a chance to have a break from having just to be so perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over our fruit filling, so we don't want this dough to be too thick, because if this dough is too thick, then it's going to be a big lump of pastry for it's just going to be too much pastry on the edge. So go for that 1/8 of an inch thick. Okay. If you have your perfection strips, pull them out. And now I'm going to fold it. It looks good. I don't know, I want you to see how thick it is. And you can still see the butter. And it's hotter than Hades in this kitchen. So now I'm going to fold it into quarters. And we're going to go to the pan. Now I wish I had a square pan, but I don't. So this is a make it work moment. And if you feel like you look at it and you're like, oh, those edges are just not tidy enough, well then just grab a pizza wheel and give them a little trim and bake any scraps, toss them in cinnamon sugar, throw them in the oven, and they make a lovely snack, especially if you have little ones, or maybe not so little ones who like sweet snacks. Okay, so I clean that up just a little bit because I'm very vain with my pastry. All right, everyone. See? Doesn't that look great? Now, if you were really into the flake, you could chill this for 30 minutes and then arrange your fruit. And hallelujah! We're just at a scant 12 inches. So, perfect. All right, I just want to make sure. Oh, yes, Rico-san, this pie, this can be used to make pies. And it absolutely. And there's also on my website at bakingwithcolette.com under recipe and blog posts, there's several posts with pie dough, a really good pie dough for you to check out. There is a search function, and you can search pie dough and it will come up. All right, so here's what happened. Well, first of all, the internet happened. If you go on the internet for galettes, there's several recipes, even some really great people, I'm not going to name names, and like platforms, and they'll have you essentially take the fruit and toss it in the usual things, flour and spices like we do when we're making an apple pie. But that sugar goes to work on the fruit, pulls out the juices. Some summer fruits are juicier than others, and you end up with a hot mess. Lots of juices burbling up outside of your galette, and it's just not what you want. So we got to stay dry, and we got to stay dry. So this is how we're going to stay dry. I have made streusel topping, and the recipe will be with the galette recipe. You need something to soak up the fruit juices. So it could be streusel. It could be breadcrumbs. If you like making frangipani, which is a gorgeous almond cream, you could put some of that down because it's semi-dry. But I'm going to use this streusel, and I'm going to put a layer of streusel on. Now remember, I'm going to fold over, so I'm going to leave 1.5 inches of a border. 1.5 inches of a border. All right? So this streusel is going to absorb some of the juices, and I am not tossing my fruit in anything. All right? So we have, that's a little bit of soak. Even if you have breadcrumbs, just so long as they're like not strong flavored, like rye, rye breadcrumbs might be a bit much. Okay. And then I have sliced my peaches, and I know it might be shocking, but I left the skins on. You can use peaches, you can use nectarines, you can use plums, but I need them to hold together. So the next thing I'm going to do, and they are thin, they are very thin, I'm just going to start laying them out. And if you cut your peaches properly, well, not properly, that sounded strict. I kind of got back into my culinary school instructor mode. If you do it properly, if you do them thin, you can just pick them up. If you notice here, I'm just picking them up, and I'm able to put them down. And I'll go over that. We just have a few minutes. We're doing okay on time. I have the oven preheating at 375. 375 is magic for galettes and crostata. All right. It's also, I have found, perfect for baking challah and croissants. All right. So we have, let me show you what we have so far. And now I'm going to build up the center. But it's pretty much just one layer of fruit. I might have a little bit of overlap. My peaches are pretty much perfectly ripe. They could be slightly under. You'd be okay, because they're going to bake. But they can't be, they have to be sweet. They can't be underripe and crunchy. That just won't work. Okay. Then I need a few in the center. It's really looking pretty. Now I do have some raspberries because I was thinking of making a Pavlova for a blog. I have a website. I don't have a blog. So I was thinking of doing a Pavlova, which is the beautiful summer meringue dessert. Super casual. So I bought some raspberries for the Pav. Put it in the comments if you've ever made a Pavlova. Or if you'd like to see, if you'd like a good recipe for a Pavlova. All right, let me show you. There we go. I'm going to grab a couple raspberries, just some nice Driscoll raspberries, not cutting them, just dotting them in, okay? Just like that. And then I'm actually I need a square pan for this. I need to find a square pan. I'm just going to trim a little bit because it's so close to the edge of my pan. Okay. So now I'm just going to pleat. You can see, I'm just pleating the dough. And you want to assemble this right before you bake it. Because again, we don't want this to be juicy. So what makes this successful? This is going to be successful because we have kept the fruit dry. Now I will say, if you can chill your round of dough before assembling your galette, it'll pleat prettier, but needs must. So I'm not gonna make myself crazier than I already am. All right? Then I'm just gonna sprinkle a little regular sugar on the top. That's it. And I'm gonna brush the fruit with melted butter. I'm going to brush the crust with just a little melted butter. I'm not a big egg wash for this. And then I'm going to sprinkle the outside with sugar. Because remember, we didn't sweeten the fruit very much. We just have that streusel underneath. We have our beautiful fruit, and then we have the dough. Little bit of melted butter on top of the fruit that helps it not dry out. And now this is ready for baking. All right? But I just want to finish the show. So I'm throwing it into the refrigerator. I'm going to wipe my hands quickly and see what everybody's doing. So this is going to bake at 375. And I'm going to do my first check at 35 minutes, but it'll probably take closer to 45. But remember, everybody's oven is different. All right? That's the disclaimer. Oh, thank you. Blueberries are absolute. So Patty says blueberries seem to be the worst. They are. They're so full of juice. You might try blackberries, which seem to have a little, they have a different flavor. We really love blueberries, but blackberries have just a titch less water. You might try that. And Don Deco says no peaches in Canada until August. Oh, good. And I'm also Pavlova's, thumbs up on Pavlova's. All right, everyone. Well, what I'm going to do is I will take pictures of the finished product, and then I will post this all on the website. So it'll go live on Monday, and there'll be an Instagram post to go with it. So you'll see, and the recipe. So you'll see how this looked when it was done. So as soon as I'm done with the show, I'm going to pop it into the oven, and let's see. Oh yeah, lots of interest in the Pav. So corn flour, no. So Sally, Salty Sweet Bakes, no. Corn corn flour is also known as cornstarch. It's too granular, it's too thin, it doesn't have the right texture. So I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could always message me and we can come up with something. Breadcrumbs, regular breadcrumbs, but if you want to avoid wheat, message me and we'll figure something out, okay? Excellent. All right, yep, turbinado, and then I have every sugar in this pantry. You could also use, Patty's asking, could you use turbinado? You could also use sanding sugar. That works really well. Awesome. All right, everyone, we are at 12:33. We've gone a few minutes over. Thank you so much for staying with me. This will be archived if you want to review, and I promise I'll put together a beautiful post for the website and IG, so you'll see the follow-up. You'll see what happens out of the oven. Thank you so much for joining me, and next week we're going to talk all things pie fillings and how to control the juice. Great to see you. Enjoy your baking and have a wonderful and safe weekend. Bye.